Hare Krishna. So I've been asked to share and discuss something on chapter 27 of Canto 3. So I seek all your best wishes and blessings so that we can share and discuss something about this most important topic. And I hope I'm able to stick to what Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in his purpose. And with his blessings and Guru Maharaj's blessings, for the pleasure of Hari, Guru and Vaishnava, we are going to be continuing our discussion on Sankhya Yoga, right? The first time when Narottam Prabhu started this, I think that was Jan. I'm sure. So Sankhya Yoga starts from chapter 25, right? And when Narottam Prabhu took this 25th chapter, it was Jan. Any one of us remembers what was spoken? In fact, Amish Prabhu also shared a summary after that. And anyways, I mean, even I don't remember. So it's always good to refer to things. But it's good to refer to things, especially when you are coming for a Sangha, so that what is being shared, you are much more prepared to understand what was discussed in the past and what's coming ahead. So then after that, Nitai Jivan Prabhu took the 26th chapter, the following, after a few weeks, and then Shantivardhan Prabhu took the 26th chapter. So, the difficult part was already done and over with by Narottam Prabhu, Nitai Jivan Prabhu, Shantivardhan Prabhu. I hope, I'm able to do justice to this chapter. This chapter has relatively lesser verses. Any idea how many verses does this chapter have? How many of us read this chapter before coming? Okay, so what is the title of the chapter? Nice. And how many verses? 30 verses. Excellent. So I'm sorry I'm toggling with two laptops. For some reason, the laptop is not connected to the projector, so we are using Shantivardhan Prabhu's laptop. So please bear with me. So like we know that Sankhya Yoga started from 25th chapter and it goes on till the 33rd chapter. And here, Lord Kapila, he is instructing his mother, who? Devahuti. What is he instructing her? The science of Sankhya Yoga. And the way so what was happening is Shaunak Rishi and Suta Goswami, they were continuing their narration of what was going on between Maitreya and Vidul, and in which this discussion was recalled upon. And here Kapila has stressed that mind must be freed from the impurities of the modes of nature, which is what? The gunas. And the false identification of I, me and mine. Right? Now, only after this purification, our mind, one's mind, can become strongly attached to Lord and engage in some devotional service or bhakti. Right? So this was the background of it, and what was discussed in right. So what was discussed in 26th chapter was a very technical subject, and I heard the recording that Shantivardhan Prabhu shared. It kind of cleared a lot of my concepts, and I'm sure that is the case with you all as well, where many technical aspects were taken care of and very nicely explained. Now here in 27th chapter, Kapila Dev continues his dialogue with his mother Devahuti, right? It's a very divine dialogue where Kapila Dev begins and he is instructing his mother of seeking liberation from ignorance. How does he do that? He shares certain concepts which we will touch upon, which are across these 30 verses. But before we do that, um, all of us as human beings, we have these questions, right? In our life, how to earn money, how to succeed, how to improve our life. But the most important question of our life, which Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam has answers to, is much deeper of who am I, right? We all know that I am not this body and I am. How many of us are really very conscious about it on a daily basis? As a child, we had one body. As we grew up and in our youth, we had another body. Now we have another body. However, something inside us has remained unchanged, and which is our conscious self and our soul. So in this chapter, Kapila Dev is very compassionately explaining and sharing this with his mother, that why does the soul gets trapped in the material nature? And if it gets trapped, what should one do, or how should one act in his life in devotion to Krishna, so that the soul or the living being can get back to its original spiritual life? So today we are going to talk about Kapila Dev's teachings of how not to be in bondage, liberation, how to awaken this eternal identity, and which is to begin with only possible with the mercy of Lord, which is the kripa of Lord, right? So with that in mind, let's go on the subject matter that Kapila Dev is sharing with Devahuti. So Kapila Dev is explaining that body is a temporary vehicle. We all know I am not this body. And the soul is a spiritual identity. But how often do we remember this? Everywhere in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has been talking about it to Arjuna, right? Which are the verses which talk about it? That I am not this body. Dehinosmin yatha deve. And Prabhupada translates that the foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit this body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. Those who have developed spiritual knowledge, however, can see that spirit is different from the body and is changing its body and enjoying in different ways. We're enjoying our body, right? And what happens because of that? The soul keeps wandering from, in this science of transmigration, from one body to another, one species to another, and repeated birth and death, right? So there is a chain that Prabhupada explains. What all goes into this chain of repeated birth and death? And that's what the 25th chapter also spoke about, right? Sadhu Sangha. Sangha. But it depends on what kind of Sangha do we choose? What association do we choose? So that's the first aspect of the chain of activities that we get into once we get a body. What association do we choose? How many of us here are lucky that the moment we were born in devotee families? None of us. At least not me. And then what happened? We had the mercy of the devotees. All of us here must have met a devotee somewhere, right? Anyone who just walked into the temple, that I am a self-realized soul and I want to know more. For me, it took, it's still under process. I'm still trying to understand. Since 2010, I'm still trying and struggling to understand and have this understanding that I'm not this body and I'm soul. So then what happens? Because of the association that we get from our childhood, in our youth, in our jobs, in our professions, we have certain kind of, what happens with the association? We get certain kind of desires. We all get desires. What are the desires based upon? The environment around, the association, the family that we are in. And because of those desires, what do? Yes, we endeavor and we try to act upon it. Correct? So what happens? There is action, there is karma, which leads to bondage. And then because of that action, you have a reaction. So here, that's the association that you have. Because of the association, you have certain desires. You're trying to juggle, your spiritual life, sola mala, four regulative principles, job, pleasing the boss, taking care of the zeros on the balance sheet, promotions, many such things. And you get into action. You see this harrowed gentleman in front of the laptop? You get into action. And then because of the action, there is some reaction. And then because there is some reaction and there is some karma involved in anything that we do, what happens? We get into this cycle of birth and death. Right? So would anyone like to share which link of this chain that traps us the most today? Sorry? So we are stuck at the desire level, and then we are again stuck at the action level. Right? Anyone else? Where are we stuck at? Yes. Yes. So we'll take this question of, where are we stuck and trapped, maybe a little later at the end of the session, and understand a little more. Let's move on. The other aspect that Kapila Dev is sharing with Mother Devahuti is the three modes of nature. Right? What are the three modes? Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. If we were asked to identify which mode influences the modern life the most, what do you think? Where are we? Yeah. What do we need to do? We need to cultivate sattva, balance the rajas, and reduce the tamasic tendencies. We all know what is it, this concept is not new to us, right? But we still are very passionate in our daily life. A very important aspect that Kapila Dev then goes on and shares with Mother Devahuti is false ego. What is false ego? No, Prabhuji, I am not egoistic. I am very humble, Prabhuji. What is false ego? I am this body, I am not the soul, and I, me, and mine. What else? You feel bad about that? Correct. We think we are the enjoyer. We also think we are the doer. मैंने किया है. मैं. है ना? There is one more very, very strong tendency. Huh? Pride, yes. Doer, yes. You want to do it everything perfect, and you want to keep things in control. I am the controller. Yeah. How many of us feel that I am a controller? I feel. I feel always, every day. I should get things right. My life should be perfect, in spite of understanding that it's never going to be perfect. So, as long as the spirit soul is covered by the subtle body, consisting of the mind, intelligence, and the false ego, he is bound to the results of the fruitive activities. Isn't it? And because of this covering, the spirit soul is connected with the material energy, and it suffers in the material conditions continuously, life after life. Yeah? Do you think that's the case? Or does anyone feel there is some other? So then Kapila Dev gives an analogy. What does it look like? Sorry? What does this image look like? It's a reflection of the sun, right? Where is the reflection? In the water. And the first thing that you get to see is it appears to be moving if the water is moving, right? And that is exactly what our soul appears to be in a conditioned state. We are influenced with the three modes of nature, and though our soul is always transcendental. But the reality is, the modes impact us and influence us, right? Anyone here would like to share any situation that helps, that is a hindrance or an obstacle for us to, forget our spiritual identity? Why do we forget our spiritual identity, that I am not this body, but I am soul? Why do we keep forgetting that? Attachment, yes. Sorry? Yes. We feel that um, I need to lord it over. When, to begin with, when I first read this statement, I want to lord it over. Prabhupada uses such language that even after looking up to the dictionary, you have to scratch your head and refer to our mentors, without which we'll never have the right comprehension of what the scriptures are saying. Is that I wish to enjoy. I wish to enjoy what is it? iPhone Pro 17. I wish to enjoy the new sari that has come in the market. What is it? Sundaris and Nalis and whatnot. I wish to buy the best smart watch that has come. I can't manage one simple watch. I really fear. You can see, 2 laptops. I have Shanti Vardhan Prabhu helping me with getting it right. So, what other things? Technology takes us away from our spiritual identity. Yeah. What else? Social media. Sorry. Comfort. See, it's very natural. We have a social life, we have a personal life, we have a professional life. So time and again we are reminded of our bodily concepts, correct? So there's nothing wrong in that. But then Kapila Dev further goes on and says that we need to engage ourselves in bhakti to purify our hearts. So the teaching that we get from this chapter 27th is, and Prabhupada gives a very beautiful analogy. Does anyone remember? For those who've read the purports, what's the analogy? So Prabhupada says, bhakti acts like the fire that burns karma. If you rub 2 wooden sticks, there are sparks and fire is there, right? But in that same fire, the wooden stick gets burnt into ashes. So we can't not be in the bodily concept of life and not be a part of this material nature. But we need to find ways of how we can still maintain our spiritual identity. Correct? Most often, that's the struggle and the challenge that we keep facing on a daily basis, isn't it? So what happens is, because of our devotional service, it automatically cleanses the mirror of our heart and we purify ourselves. And I remember when I heard Nitai Jivan Prabhu and talking about it, what was the word used? Intense bhakti. What was the word used? Does anyone remember? How to do intense bhakti? Huh? No, that is greed. Tivra bhakti. Right? You have to engage in devotional service. Most important, very sincerely. But then Prabhupada on various occasions keeps talking about seriously sincere. Seriously sincere यानी क्या? With a lot of intensity. I want to please Krishna. अरे प्रभु जी मेरा दिन निकल जाए तो भी ठीक है, बॉस कितना किटकिट करता है, कैसे उसको शांत करूं, right? So then that intense practice or intense devotional practice or Tivra Bhakti is what Kapila Dev is recommending. And what does it include? What does Tivra Bhakti include? No. I'm looking for some specific answers which are present on the slide. What specific activities would you do? Chanting, reading and hearing of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and Sankirtan. Right? And Prabhupada has always led from the front. An exemplary. We don't really need to do anything great or something intelligent, but just follow what he has asked us to do. That's it. All we need to do is no desire for material results, execute our prescribed duties. No, Prabhuji, I don't want to associate with bodily concepts of life, and hence I choose not to get into the kitchen and not cook today. Why do I need to feed the body? Soul is already fed for. Right? Can I have that understanding? No. So that is why Prabhupada very clearly says, you do your prescribed duties. You cannot escape out of it. Right? While we are doing our prescribed duties, we hear about the Lord, Shravanam and Kirtanam. We chant daily. Right? We gather the knowledge, and with the knowledge, we try and become detached. Right? From the first day when you all walked in until today, can some of you share that you are now detached with some things? Things don't really bother me now. Sorry? Clothing. Thank you. Things that don't really bother you now, and you've become detached. Sorry? You're not on social media. 5,000 friends on social media. पहले फोन बुक में वो लिमिटेड कॉन्टैक्ट लिस्ट होता था. सिम कार्ड पे कितने सेव कर सकते थे? सम 100 या कुछ ऐसा कुछ था. फिर फोन मेमोरी आया, फिर अभी क्लाउड मेमोरी आया. अपने फोन पे वी मस्ट बी हैविंग 5,000 कॉन्टैक्ट्स. Things are only becoming crazier and crazier. Yes. Hairstyle. Yes, I remember Nitajivan Prabhu. When he first, in these initial days when he came, he would come in his red color bullet. Dup, 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 dup. Yes. यानी कंपटीशन बहुत होता है ना, चाहे वो जॉब में हो, हमारे पर्सनल लाइफ में हो. There's so much of insecurity everywhere. Why? Because we are not detached. Because we are not knowledgeable. Because we are not reading Prabhupada's purports. Because we are not following what Prabhupada has asked us to do. Just chant, read and dance. Some of us also believe in austerities. So austerity is one way where you can become detached. And then of course yoga and some deep meditation. But what the best that works is devotional service, right? Any thoughts around this? So your mourning period is reduced. बिल्कुल दुख नहीं होता है. Yes, so thank you for sharing that. Anyone else would like to share something? Stopped watching news. Nice. उससे आपको detachment feel हो रहा है. You are more happier. There is no anxiety. You are not following the world. What is Trump doing now? Right. We'll move on. So, this aspect will also be spoken about by Kapila Dev in chapter 28. But here he briefly touches upon the fact and tells mother that the Lord accompanies the soul in every life as Paramatma. We all know this, right? There's nothing new that we are sharing, right? But what we need to reflect upon is, maybe we could do this small little exercise. Now that we know, and we are reading this again and reiterating this, that the soul sitting in our heart, deep down there is also a Paramatma, right? Let's close our eyes and just meditate over this thought for 30 seconds that Paramatma resides in our heart. Just close your eyes and meditate on this thought that Paramatma is in our hearts. Right? How was the feeling? कुछ feeling ही नहीं है प्रभु जी, क्या बात कर रहे हो? But that's what our scriptures are saying. It's very theoretical, but then until and unless we feel it, and until and unless we implement that in our life, that in our heart resides Paramatma, and so does he reside on the opposite person's heart also. And that's what this image is talking about. It's in the animals, it's in the people around us, right? So it reminds me nothing but to behave myself and not be rude to others, right? It only reminds me that Paramatma is residing in everyone's heart. Let's read this. Can someone read? Right? Do we have faith in this? It should show in actions, right? Every night we make a plan before the day ends that tomorrow morning I will wake up early, chant attentively, be peaceful, not get agitated and disturbed. But when the morning comes, what happens? The mind already has its plan, right? Sometimes the mind says, "Aaj mandir mat ja, chant later, first check your phone. The world outside is dying without your reply and your response." Or maybe 5 minutes more of sleep. And you never know when that 5 minutes becomes, अच्छा, 1 घंटा हो जाता है. So that is exactly what Kapila Dev is asking us to be mindful of, that we should not be influenced with the material nature. And bhakti is the only way where we can bring our mind back under spiritual intelligence. Right? कई बार ऐसा होता है ना, you attend Mangla, you do all your 16 rounds before Guru Puja. Oh, आज मेरा दिन इतना अच्छा जाने वाला है. मेरे साथ ऐसा बहुत होता है. You feel nice. Yeah? How many of us feel so? Yeah? It makes a difference, right? Talking about material nature also brings us to this tendency of having proprietorship over everything that we have around, right? But do we understand that we are all temporary owners? We never have this feeling. No? Has anyone ever bought something new recently? किसी ने कुछ नया buy किया अभी? Yeah, what did you buy? Sorry? Car. What did you buy? Business cards. Right? We buy in a manner that we own that. But we keep forgetting that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is shouting out loud that we don't even own our body. Do we own our body? We say, my body. And one fine day the nature says, it's time. Thank you very much. It's time to return. Right? So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam has a deeper question, and Kapila Dev has a deeper question here in the 27th chapter for us, that we cannot keep our body forever. Who are we really? Are we conscious about it? Are we conscious about it? Are we interested in breaking the cycle? Breaking the cycle of birth and death dekha jayega. I am not too keen about, why my life is going to be next. What about my this life? If I were to ask you, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam theek hai, breaking the cycle and all, theoretically, yes. But what do I do in this life? How is bhakti going to help me in this life? And that is where it further elaborates that because of our active engagement, not passive, active engagement, Tivra Bhakti, we are able to overcome the ignorance that we are in. We are able to burn our karma, right? We are able to overcome this false ego of I am the doer, I have done it, right? All of us in the room have had such kind of an experience. And most of us are here for more than 5 years, right? By now, we must have experienced that. Yes, no, maybe. So what happens? Our ignorance turned into knowledge because of Srila Prabhupada's mercy. Knowledge turned to active bhakti. And because of bhakti, what happens? Because you engage yourself in devotional service, what happens? Sorry? Heart gets purified? Yes, you are no longer under the influence of the modes of nature. Like we just shared, dukh kam hota hai. Our mourning time has become lesser. But does that mean that we've become insensitive? No, it doesn't matter. It does matter, isn't it? At the same time, bhakti makes us a lot more compassionate towards the others. So would anyone like to share what one step that you would like to take in this week to deepen our bhakti and devotion? Just some time back before this, Ishan Gaur Prabhu, he was taking a boys class and he was sharing this with me that since Gaur Purnima, he was sharing what Indra Prabhu once said. Our ISKCON movement is all about Sankirtan, right? So after Gaur Purnima, he shared with me that this is one step that I am taking towards my devotional practice, where every evening I'll go for Sankirtan on the roads. I don't know how many of us have seen, but there is a team of devotees in Bhiwandi temple, Attapur temple, here in Juhu temple also. You see devotees going out on Kirtan on the beach, going on book distribution, right? So that reminds me that we should also think of one such step or one such activity. What will we do this week now that we know it all? तो जी भगवत गीता पढ़ लिया है, श्रीमद् भागवतम भी पढ़ लिया है, चैतन्य चरितामृत भी पढ़ लिया है, सारा मेरे शेल्फ में लगा हुआ है with that cling film plastic wrapped. It is said, वैशेषिका प्रभु ने बोला है, सिर्फ ग्रंथों का घर में वास होना ही बहुत शुभ माना जाता है. तो बस मैंने ग्रंथों का कर लिया है बंदोबस्त. So if anyone would like to share, fair enough. Otherwise, this is one thing that you would want to take back and decide upon in this coming week. What one thing that you would like to do towards devotion? Yeah? Possible? To make a difference? Then what is going on? Chal raha hai. Kat rahi hai life. Roji, ISKCON is anyways known for what? Dancing and eating temple. हम आ रहे हैं, क्लास खत्म होने के बाद प्रसाद लेके चले जाएंगे, डांस करके चले जाएंगे, डांस करने आ जाएंगे. So where is the sincerity and the seriousness of doing intense bhakti? Do we understand the word intense? Intense with it comes with a lot of dedication, commitment. So what is it that you would change in your life, in our life, in this coming week? Think over it. And then Lord Kapila Dev, he is shared this and reiterated that what is our eternal identity? I am the servant of Lord Krishna. I will do anything that I do in my life for the pleasure of the Lord, for the pleasure of the spiritual master, for the instructions that Prabhupada has given us. Right? Why? Because the soul is eternal. Soul belongs to Krishna. And if we break this cycle and we engage in bhakti and devotion service to purify our hearts, we'll definitely restore our real identity. Right? Do you feel so? Any experiences that you'd like to share? That the day or the week or the month you came for Mangala Aarti, this is what happened. The day I completed my japa before 9 a.m. and I didn't take breakfast, this is what happened. Or the day I spent time in devotee sangha, this is what happened. Are we even conscious about it? So Kapila Dev's message is loud and clear. What is he saying? Can someone read? I read this somewhere, would like to share something. It's a narration. So please pay attention and hear this carefully. Once a lion cub. You understand what is a lion cub? Huh? Lion, baby lion. Once a lion cub, he grew up watching and was raised amongst a group of sheep. Right? So what did the lion cub learn from it? He started walking like a sheep, started eating grass, and even started talking like a sheep. What does a sheep do? Yeah. So whenever the wolves appeared, the sheep ran in fear, and the lion cub also ran along with them. One day, a very powerful lion, must be his father, came to that field where all this running was going on, and he was surprised. What's going on? Among the sheep, what did he see? He saw a lion running away in fear. So this powerful lion ran behind and caught hold of him, dragged him to a lake. What did he do? The powerful lion dragged the cub lion to a lake, and he said, "Look at your reflection. the cub saw two lions, himself and of course. So this powerful lion, he very loudly roared. And looking at that, the cub still was doing meh. He didn't know what to do. And then gradually he understood that for the first time in life, he got a reflection of what he was. And then he immediately roared. And that's exactly what our situation is. Time and again in the mirror, we see a body, we see our hands, legs, nose, and we get too attached with it. And just because we don't see the soul, we ignore the soul, right? Until we got introduced to Prabhupada and ISKCON and Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, do we agree our soul was malnourished? There was no food for soul. So that is exactly what Kapila Dev is saying, that for many lifetimes, rather, we've lived in this thinking that I am this body. तो ये अचानक थोड़ी कोई स्विच है कि बंद कर देंगे और मैं आज से सोचना बंद कर दूंगा कि मैं बॉडी नहीं हूं. Right? It'll come gradually. But what is our scripture saying? You are not this body. You are the eternal servant of Krishna. And Prabhupada has given, and Prabhupada came on this earth, on this planet, simply to remind us our real identity. And when we remember this, is where our spiritual life truly begins. So the takeaways that we have from this chapter is that I am not this body. I am Krishna's eternal servant. And Bhakti awakens the real identity. What happens if we forget Krishna? We will be materially bound. Do you think you can have a life without Krishna? After so many years now, do we get put off by some mundane conversation that our friends and family members do? How many of us? There has been a change in our friend circles. There has been a distance with our family members. Why? समझ में नहीं आ रहा है क्या बोल रहे हैं? Why are they so attached? Right? So what happens when we remember Krishna? We are spiritually awakening our eternal real identity. And when we serve Krishna, what happens? We get eternal happiness. Right? How many of us here are there who come for Jagannath Mahaclinic? What happens? Immediately when Jivamrit Prabhu calls Mahacleaning hai, तो पहुंच जाते हैं ना? बहाने बनाते हो क्या? नहीं ना, क्यों? Why? Because the soul is longing for that. You get immense happiness in doing something devotional. Though we may not be able to see such things. You know, when you see a cake, nice, beautifully decorated, अरे कितना बढ़िया garnish किया है, chocolate है, cream है, cake है. What happens? We get attracted towards it. Bhaskar Prabhu नहीं है ना? But if you ask Bhaskar Prabhu, what would he say? अरे क्या केक है, आटा, शुगर, यही सब है. What to get attracted towards such a cake? Why? Because he understands the ingredients, right? So if you understand the ingredients of the material nature, what will happen to us? Do you think we'll get attracted and get carried away? No, right? Simple formula, isn't it? So we should be doing something about it. Kapila Dev teaches that liberation is not too far away. If we sincerely chant, remember Krishna, the door to spiritual world begins. And it begins by purifying our heart, opening our hearts to all auspiciousness. Right? Let's do a recap of Bhagavad Gita. How many of us read Bhagavad Gita, chat, and participate every day? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. And Bhagavatam उसके बाद वाला 15 मिनट का chat. That's it. You know that this program was started for people who you know. It was started in COVID. We used to long for some association, and we were glued to chat. Nothing was more important. I remember Narottam Prabhu in a day had 3 chat sessions. Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita and Bhagavatam. फिर पता चला कि there are no domestic helps और हम ही झाड़ू पोछा कर रहे हैं, तो वो सेशंस थोड़े रिड्यूस हो गए over a period of time. But what happened? Why were we doing that? Vaisheshika Prabhu, what was his idea? Chapter a day. Chapter a day keeps Maya away. Just because we are in Saturday Sangha, now we are doing Bhagavatam. Prabhuji, Gita kitni baar padhu? You have to constantly be in touch. Every day, daily chat reading must happen. There is no other priority. For the people who didn't raise and are not participating, I would request, consider this activity as one devotional activity that you're going to change in this coming week. From now onwards, participate in chat daily. Right? Things need to be reiterated again and again. We are all surrounded by the illusory energy, and the energy is doing its job, and we are not. Right? How many of us, can someone share from Bhagavad Gita which are the verses which help us understand and identify the identity of the soul? What is the identity of the soul? What are the, there was one verse that we spoke about, but chapter 2, okay, that's the hint. Chapter 2 mein kaun se verses hain which will talk about identity of the soul? Sorry? Dehinosmin yatha deha kaumaran yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptir. Which other verse? Najayate. What else? Vasamsij. What is the nature of material life? Bhagavad Gita. Which verses? Dukhalayam. Mama Maya. Prakriti Kriyamanani. What does it say? All actions are carried out by the modes of nature. Though the soul thinks himself the doer. But what happened? We've forgotten that. So shouldn't we be reading Bhagavad Gita every day? 2 purports every day. Who is the Supreme Controller? Chapter 10. Chapter 5, Bhoktaram, Sarvaloka. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and the proprietor of all the worlds. In spite of that, we still have this false ego that I am the doer. Chapter 9, Ananyas. Krishna personally protects and maintains his devotees. Do we have the faith? Patram Pushpam, Yome Bhaktya. Krishna accepts even a simple offering made with devotion. Man Mana. Always think of Krishna and become his devotees. Sarva Dharman, Mamekam. What are we supposed to do? Surrender to Krishna completely, sincerely, seriously sincere, Tivra Bhakti. And similarly, in various purports, Prabhupada has explained how this kind of a process that has been given to us will lead to pure devotion and purification of our hearts. So since we've been practicing this, so do we have a pen and a notepad? No. Okay. Phones until, since you don't have, but strictly only for free writing, right? With Burijan Prabhu's inspiration, and since Narottam Prabhu has also encouraged free writing, so the question is, what we need to think about and write is, how often do we live remembering this truth that I am not this body but soul? Right? Here is Radharas Bihari. Okay, you can talk to Radharas Bihari and freely write. How often do you really remember that I am your eternal servant, Radharas Bihari? You may write and pray to Radharas Bihari and take a vow that what different am I going to do to increase my activities which will lead me to devotionally progress, and some devotional activity. Which chain I will not get too allured with. At times we forget about Krishna and our spiritual identity. What will I do that so that I don't forget? You may also write which is the devotional practice that you would like to do and follow, which will strengthen your Krishna consciousness? All of us have some interest and inclination, right? What is that one step that we would take to deepen our devotion? We also spoke about the chain, how we get entangled with association, desire, action, and the reaction, which is one thing that you will refrain from so that you don't get carried away. There are advertisements, social media, sense gratification. Since the modern society is largely that we are living in is dominated by Rajogun, right? The mode of passion. What would I do to reduce my passion, to reduce my ignorance, and be in Sattva? You may want to think of a situation where, because we were remembering Krishna, we were aware of the fact that I am not this body but soul. And that's the trick, that's the secret. Remember Krishna in all circumstances to relate to our eternal identity. So we'll continue for 3 more minutes and rest. So we'll rest here. So we'll conclude with what Kapila Dev has explained. The jiva is pure, but conditioned by false ego. And identification with matter leads us to engage ourselves in some action and leads to karma, and which then further translates into transmigration from one body to another. Further, he says knowledge, detachment, and devotion purifies our consciousness. Yes? And intense bhakti destroys the influence of material nature. And an enlightened soul becomes free from prakriti and attains liberation. Any thoughts, questions, comments? Yes. Yeah, the only thing that I see that works is having good association and sangha. And so I like to discuss things with Shantivardhan Prabhu. What am I doing? What am I not doing? I discuss that with Nitai Jivan Prabhu. I share with Narottam Priya Prabhu. And so then that kind of gives me a validation whether we are doing the right thing or are we getting swayed. When we recently were in Giriraj and Burijan Prabhu and Braj Bihari Prabhu, who was facilitating the course, they spoke about having friendship. We should have good friendship. फ्रेंडशिप के भी टाइप्स होते हैं, वो फेसबुक वाला या फोन बुक वाला 5000 फ्रेंडशिप कैसा है हमारा लोगों के साथ एंड स्पेशली डिवोटीज के साथ. See, if it is recommended to practice yoga in a secluded place, we can never be in seclusion. Prabhupada said, be in a place full of devotees. That is the seclusion needed from people who are engaged otherwise in sense gratificatory actions. So if we maintain good friendships, I am here in front of you, I am a total devotee mercy case. So it's all because you have the right sangha, and automatically things get realigned. Everybody, in all fairness, has माफ है कुछ अगर frequency से भटक गए तो. But if you are connected with a nice devotee sangha, it's a big blessing. Be it online, be it these Saturday sanghas, Sunday sanghas, yatras, all the festivals that we celebrate together in Bhiwandi. So that is the driving force for me. We all have, shortcomings and imperfections. That all gets overshadowed with the mercy that we receive from devotees. Right? Like, for example, today, I would have never been able to share this PPT had it not been for Shantivardhan Prabhu. So I can give you umpteen examples where Sangha is the only thing. You can't be in seclusion and say, okay, I will practice my own bhakti and I have Prabhupada. Prabhupada is present in Vani. फिलॉसफी को बुमरैंग की तरह अपने खिलाफ नहीं यूज करना है. So it's very, very important. And be an open book. When you share friendship with devotees, it is not just acquaintance. Hi, hello, कैसे हैं, सब ठीक है, साधना कैसी हो रही है. These are all very just daily. How personal are you, and how open are you about your own life with others? Yeah. So that is what helps me. And I'm not that great, talented where I can memorize and recite shlokas of Bhagavatam. And if I start singing, you'll run away from here. Neither am I good at doing some nice kirtan. But the only thing that I like is, or I feel that I can give, is sincerity. Sincerity to our devotee Sangha, to our devotee friendship, to Prabhupada, to Radharas Bihari, to the mission. And that is it. Seriously sincere. And we heard one more word from Burijan Prabhu when we were in Giriraj. Consistently sincere. Difference hai. Prabhuji, main to sincere hu. Then the question is, how sincere? Seriously sincere? One day, sirf Saturday, baki 6 din Maya mein hu. It has to be consistently sincere. Consistently, seriously sincere. Yeah, I hope that helps. ठीक है? Anyone else? Mataji's? Correct. That is the question even Devahuti asked. Did you read the purports ahead? Sure. But did you read Prabhupada's purports? Yeah. So it very clearly says, what Prabhupada mentions is that, there is an analogy that Prabhupada uses where it is not like the living entity or the soul and the body is not like the earth and the aroma of the earth and water and the taste of water. Right? You cannot differentiate between the taste of water and water. You cannot take away the aroma from the earth. Right? But here Prabhupada very beautifully explains that you understand, like Bhaskar Prabhu understands what goes behind the cake. And he doesn't get carried away with the decoration of the cake. Like the lion cub, because he was in the surroundings of the sheep, he started behaving like one. He had to be given the true reflection of what he is so that he can do so. So now that we know that we are a soul and not the body, just follow and engage yourself in bhakti and devotional service. Automatically, you will overcome the impact or the influences of the modes of nature. Don't you now, like he was saying, you don't get carried away with and you don't start mourning over things you lose. That is also one example that Prabhupada gave in one of the purports. If you lose money, have you really lost money? Does the money belong to you? No. So you've really not lost anything. It is our mindset that we feel that I have lost it. So the only way to be aloof of the material nature, though we have to be with it, you cannot not be with it, right? Is if you are spiritually advancing with all the activities, engaging yourself in bhakti, in devotion service, you'll be protected by Krishna. Why? Because you are serving Krishna as a servitor and not satisfying your senses alone for sense gratificatory needs. That is exactly what Mother was asking Kapila Dev. Yeah, does that help? Thank you. So, with this, we conclude. And the next session, next Saturday, we continue with chapter number 28, where Kapil Dev continues and shares a few other aspects of how, if we are attached to Krishna and detached to material needs or material sense gratificatory activities, how we can build our consciousness and not live like a dead man. Prabhupada, he mentions in one of the purports where if you are attached to material sense gratificatory activities and living a material life with no desire to serve Krishna or love for Krishna, you are living, but you are living a dead life.